All right, ready to dive deep. Today, it's something pretty universal, for anyone with big dreams. We're tackling ego.
Ooh, that's a big one.
It is. And to help us navigate this, we're using Ryan Holiday's Ego is the Enemy.
Great choice.
So think of this deep dive as a roadmap, a cheat sheet to help you chase those ambitions, but without, letting ego trip you up.
He doesn't just define ego, like in a dictionary way. He uses all these examples from history, current stuff, to show how ego messes with us.
Yeah.
At every stage.
Yeah, totally. Like you think you've got it figured out, and bam, ego sneaks in.
From the moment we're just starting out, wanting something.
To when we actually taste success.
And even how we deal with failure. It's always there.
Okay, so first things first. That initial spark, that drive, what Holiday calls the aspiration phase. It's exciting, right? Possibilities everywhere.
But that excitement, that's also prime ego territory. It can mess you up before you even begin.
And Holiday gives us this perfect example. General William Tecumseh Sherman, Civil War hero, the whole 9 yards. But he embodies what Holiday calls the Sherman model.
Which is all about?
It's not about just being, powerful or whatever. It's a kind of humility. Even with huge success, the guy was offered the presidency.
No way.
Turned it down.
Wow. Makes you think.
Right. Sherman was all about the mission, serving something bigger, not the spotlight, not letting achievements make him, all puffed up.
And that's such a crucial insight. Real leadership, it's not about you being the star. It's quietly getting things done.
Okay, so how do we non-generals apply this? Like you're starting a business or writing or even just trying to learn a new skill.
It boils down to this. Progress comes from doing, not talking.
Oh, preach.
Holiday uses this great analogy, Holden Caulfield from Catcher in the Rye, stuck in his head, overthinking everything. That can paralyze us.
It's like we're writing this elaborate story about our goals, but never actually taking action.
Exactly. And then Holiday contrasts this with General George C. Marshall. Refused to keep a diary during World War II.
Why?
He didn't want his decisions influenced by how they'd look later. Pure action, no ego games.
That's some serious discipline. Okay, so we're silencing the inner critic, actually doing things. But what about passion? We hear so much about follow your passion. Is that good advice?
It's trickier than it sounds. Holiday argues passion, yeah, it's powerful, but it can make you blind.
Blind how?
He uses the example of Robert Falcon Scott, that Antarctic expedition, remember?
Right, tragic.
So driven by passion.
Ugh.
The keys plane back, the prep work, it wasn't there. And passion sadly led to disaster.
So passion's not enough. Got to back it up with discipline, strategy, all that. Otherwise, you're kind of doomed.
Exactly. And this brings up a really cool concept Holiday calls the canvas strategy. It's about letting other people look good.
Wait, what? Shouldn't we be promoting ourselves, showing off our skills?
It's about the long game. Holiday uses Ben Franklin. Wrote anonymous letters to get better at writing, build influence. But no one knew it was him.
Sneaky.
And Bill Belichick, that Patriots coach. Early on, he did all the jobs nobody wanted, built a reputation for just being solid, reliable.
So humility and strategy.
Yeah. Letting go of that need for instant recognition, you're building something bigger.
Like the secret architect working behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Okay, that's challenging how we usually think about ambition. So we've got humility, action over talk, strategic holding back. But what about when we're treated unfairly? Shouldn't we fight back?
Great question, and Holiday uses Jackie Robinson for this. First black player in Major League Baseball.
So much racism he faced.
But here's the thing. He made this agreement with Branch Rickey, the Dodgers manager, not to fight back. Endure it.
Wow, that must have taken so much strength.
But, and this is key, that restraint wasn't weakness. It was strategic.
How so?
Robinson knew his mission, integrating baseball, was bigger than him. By controlling his ego, he changed history.
So sometimes the most powerful thing is not reacting.
Sometimes. It's choosing the long-term goal over the right-now impulse.
Like being the bigger person, not because it's easy, but because it matters more. So managing ego, it's deeper than just being nice.
Way deeper. It's strategy, knowing yourself, understanding power, all of that.
And one more thing. Holiday talks about this student mindset. He tells the story of Kirk Hammett, Metallica's lead guitarist.
Right, the guy who shreds those solos.
And he still took lessons from Joe Satriani, even after being a rock star.
Exactly. It's that idea that there's always more to learn. Doesn't matter what you've achieved.
So staying humble, seeking out mentors, constantly growing, that's the key.
It's the opposite of getting complacent, which is easy to do once success comes knocking. And speaking of success, that's what we'll dive into next time, how ego messes with us when we're on top of the world. Because it can be just as tricky, if not more, than when we're starting out.
Oh, can't wait for that. Listeners, stick with us. This is about to get good. Back again for more deep dive. Last time, remember, ego sneaking in even before we've done anything big. But what about when we do succeed? How does ego act up then?
Yeah, it's kind of tempting to think, oh, I'm successful now, ego's gone. But that's when it gets really sneaky.
Sneaky how?
Holiday gives us these 3 examples, and they're fascinating. Howard Hughes, Ulysses S. Grant, John DeLorean, all these guys, super successful in their fields, but ego tripped them up big time.
Okay, Howard Hughes first. Aviation, movies, that whole larger-than-life persona.
But that persona, that's part of the problem. He had it all, money, fame, skills, but it went dark.
Dark how?
Hughes, he's the classic success without safeguards fuels ego case. Became a recluse, obsessed with control, super paranoid.
It's almost like the more he achieved, the more insecure he got. Like it wasn't enough.
Exactly, and it shows that real fulfillment, it doesn't come from just hitting those external goals. You got to be careful, success can isolate you.
From the things that actually matter.
Right, and then there's Ulysses S. Grant, Civil War hero, became president. But his story, it warns us about comparison, envy, all that.
After being president, didn't he make some bad money moves?
Terrible investments, trying to keep up with the rich folks. It's like even after the highest office, he still felt the need to prove himself.
That need for validation, it never ends, does it?
And that's the nasty thing about envy. It shifts your focus. You're not on your own path anymore. You're looking at what others have.
And it never satisfies, does it?
Never. It's like trading your inner compass for this endless game of who's got more. Speaking of losing your way, John DeLorean's story is wild. Amazing car designer, but his ego, man, it took him down.
His company went under, right?
Yep. And after that, he got caught up in this drug deal, trying to save his image, his money.
So even when things are tough, ego can make it worse.
It clouds your judgment. DeLorean could have taken a step back, reevaluated, but his ego wouldn't let him.
So what are the takeaways here from these, cautionary tales?
First off, define success your way, not based on what someone else is doing. Otherwise, you're chasing forever.
And second,
never stop learning. Doesn't matter how high you climb. Holiday uses Genghis Khan for this, which is interesting.
Genghis Khan, like the conqueror.
Yeah, we think ruthless, but part of his success, he was open to learning new things, took knowledge, tech from the cultures he conquered, always expanding.
Like he realized that true strength is being able to say, I don't know everything.
Exactly. So even when you're killing it, keep that student mindset. Mentors, curiosity, knowing you can always improve, that keeps you from the ego traps that success brings.
Okay, so we've talked about the downsides of success, but let's be real, failure happens. It's part of the journey.
Right. The question is, how do we handle it? And guess what? Ego plays a huge role there too.
Oh, I bet. When things go wrong, it's easy to blame ourselves, get bitter, even pretend it didn't happen.
All ego talking. But Holiday reminds us, failure's a massive chance to grow. He mentions Robert Greene's idea of alive time versus dead time.
Alive time.
It means use those setbacks, even the really bad ones, to learn and transform.
Makes sense. Like hitting rock bottom, those Fight Club moments Holiday talks about. Everything's falling apart, but in that mess, there's also a chance for real change.
And the examples he gives, wow. Malcolm X in prison, going from a life of crime to one of the most influential thinkers ever, started in prison through self-education.
So inspiring. Even in the worst spots, we can choose alive time.
And it's not just personal. Think about innovation. Tons of breakthroughs came from failing. People refusing to quit, trying new things, even when it seemed hopeless.
Okay, but how do we actually do that? Shift our view to see failure as part of growth.
Perspective is key. Holiday says, separate your ego from what happened. Look at it objectively. What went wrong? What can you learn? Move on without beating yourself up.
That's easier said than done, though.
It takes practice, for sure. But remember, sometimes, even when we try our hardest, we fail. And that's okay.
So it's not avoiding failure, it's how we relate to it.
Exactly. Failure doesn't make you less worthy. It's just information.
Yeah.
Learn from it, adjust course, keep going. That's a powerful mindset shift.
Okay, bring on part 3. Listeners, stay tuned. We're going to get practical, talk about strategies for keeping ego in check, no matter what life throws at us. All right, we're back. Deep dive, final round. So We've seen how ego can mess us up, at every stage. But the question is, what do we do about it?
Yeah, if only there was a magic button.
Right, like poof, ego gone.
Holiday's not about quick fixes. He's straight up managing ego is an ongoing thing. It's like this battle in our minds that never really ends.
So how do we fight it?
Well, one of the biggest weapons, self-awareness, being able to spot when ego is calling the shots.
So like catching ourselves in the act. But ego is so sneaky, it makes us think we're being totally rational.
Exactly. And one way it does that is through stories, the stories we tell ourselves.
About why we succeed, why we fail.
We make ourselves the heroes even when maybe we weren't.
Like rewriting history to make us feel good.
Holiday uses Bill Walsh, the coach who turned the 49ers around, went from worst to Super Bowl champs. But Walsh, he didn't buy into the hype about his own genius.
So he was successful, but stayed humble.
Totally. He knew luck played a part, good decisions, hard work, yeah, but also being in the right place at the right time.
So even at the top, he didn't let that hero story take over.
Right. And then there's entitlement. That's a big one that comes with success. We start thinking we deserve special treatment.
Yeah. Like the rules don't apply anymore.
It makes you lose sight of the people who helped you get there. Isolates you. Recipe for disaster.
Okay, so self-awareness, watch out for entitlement. What else?
Paranoia. Might sound weird, but think about it. You achieve something, and now you're scared of losing it.
Oh, yeah, I get that. Like waiting for everything to fall apart.
You see enemies everywhere, even when they don't exist. Holiday uses Xerxes, the Persian emperor. Remember the guy who punished the sea for messing up his bridges?
Okay, that's extreme. But I see the point. Success can make you defensive.
So build strong relationships instead. Trust, collaboration, that's way more effective than trying to control everything.
Right, connection over control. So managing our minds, building relationships, anything else.
We got to manage ourselves, not just our work or how people see us. Holiday uses Dwight Eisenhower as an example. General turned president.
Eisenhower, he was known for being a good delegator, right?
Totally. Built a strong team, focused on the big stuff, didn't micromanage.
He knew how to lead.
He knew leadership isn't about controlling everything. It's about letting others do their best work. And that takes trust, humility, letting go.
So as you succeed, it's not just about doing, it's about leading, which is a whole other thing.
And that brings up what Holiday calls the disease of me. We shift from the bigger picture, the mission, to what's in it for me.
Oh, yeah. The success goes to their head, and it's all about them, not the team, not the cause they were fighting for before.
He uses Jack and Kobe, super talented, but their egos clashed, held them back from being even greater.
So even when you have to work together, ego can screw things up.
Yep. And Holiday contrasts them with George C. Marshall, that general from World War II. He's often overlooked because he was all about the mission, not getting famous.
He even turned down leading the D-Day invasion.
Exactly. That's real leadership. It's not about being the hero, it's serving something bigger.
So it's not just what we achieve, but how we achieve it. Our motives matter.
Big time. And Holiday suggests something cool. Meditate on how vast the world is. He talks about John Muir, the naturalist. Muir had this moment of awe, out in the Alaskan wilderness, realizing how small he was.
It's like getting perspective. We're just a tiny part of something huge.
And that can be humbling. It helps you see your ego for what it is, this fragile little thing that needs managing, not feeding.
Okay, so meditate on mountains. Remember, we're not the center of the universe. Anything else?
Holiday points to Angela Merkel, former German chancellor. Quiet leadership, not flashy, but super effective. Focused on substance, not spile. Results, not recognition.
It's like the opposite of all that loud, attention-grabbing stuff we see so much.
Merkel's all about the effort is enough. Do your best day after day. No need for someone to pat you on the back.
Finding that inner satisfaction, knowing you're doing the right thing.
Exactly. And this leads to the toughest, but maybe most powerful thing Holiday talks about. Love.
Love.
Not romantic love, but compassion, empathy, even forgiveness for ourselves and others.
That's hard, especially in a world that feels so competitive.
He uses Orson Welles. William Randolph Hearst, this media guy, was trying to destroy him. But Welles, he kept his sense of humor. Even invited Hearst to the premiere of the movie Hearst was trying to sabotage.
Wow. Not letting someone else's negativity control you. Choosing grace, not resentment.
And that's what it comes down to. Love over fear, working together over competing, humility over arrogance.
Recognizing that our ego is just a small part of who we are, and there's more to life than just making ourselves feel important.
So as you go out there, remember all this. Be aware of your ego. Choose a lifetime. Stay a student. And most of all, remember love, compassion, connecting to something bigger. That's what really matters.
And that is a wrap on our deep dive into ego as the enemy. We hope you got something out of it, something to think about. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep that ego in check.